Have you ever wondered, like when you're way up there, soaring through the sky, what's really keeping you afloat?
It's more than just, good piloting skills and a prayer, right?
Right.
Today, we're diving deep into something that's, well, it's essential for any pilot who wants to, actually land safely.
Absolutely.
We're talking all about paraglider porosity.
That's right.
We've got a stack of resources to guide us through this. Zencore manuals, articles by the experts at Aerofix and Bruce Goldsmith, and of course, those all-important paragliding inspection recommendations. So, consider this your one-stop shop for understanding paraglider porosity.
Exactly. We've done the heavy lifting for you.
So let's jump right in, shall we?
Let's do it.
The Zencore manual, every paraglider pilot's best friend, am I right?
Absolutely. It's a must-read.
They explain that porosity is all about how easily air passes through the fabric of your wing.
Basically, how breathable is that fabric? That's what we're talking about here.
Okay, so it's like the more holes, the worse, right?
Well, there's a bit more nuance than that.
Think about it this way. You've got a brand new glider, fresh out of the bag.
Okay.
That fabric is tight. Air doesn't pass through easily, and that's what gives your glider that beautiful shape and, keeps you up there.
Like one of those inflatable costumes. Makes you look like you're 10 feet tall.
Exactly. But over time, things change, Sun, heat, moisture, those not-so-graceful landings. They all take their toll.
It all adds up.
Microscopic tears, wear and tear on the protective coating, and that's where porosity comes in.
So the more worn out the fabric, the more air it lets through.
Exactly. And when that happens, well, let's just say your flights might get a little less predictable.
That does not sound good. Not good at all.
So how do we actually measure this porosity thing? Is there like a special tool or something?
There is.
Remember that word from the Zencore manual? The porosimeter?
Oh, right, right. Sounds kind of scary, like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's not that intimidating, really.
You basically submerge this little device, clamp a piece of your glider fabric over it, and then you time how long it takes for a certain amount of air to, sneak through.
Okay.
They use a water displacement method. Simple, but surprisingly effective.
Interesting. So we're measuring how much air escapes. But what are those measurements actually telling us? Like, what's good, what's bad? So it's like, with these measurements, lower is worse, right? Like, the less air escaping, the better.
Got it.
Those measurements are usually on what's called the JDC scale.
Okay.
It's kind of like a, health score for your glider's fabric.
I like it.
And get this, the higher the number, the better.
Wait, so a higher JDC number means my glider is in better shape.
Exactly.
It seems counterintuitive, but trust me, you want to see those high numbers.
Okay, good to know. So, what's a good number?
Well, according to the Zencore folks, a JDC reading above 350 seconds
Okay.
means your glider's fabric is basically as good as new.
Wow.
They even have this handy chart in the manual that breaks down the different JDC ranges and what they mean for your glider's condition.
That's awesome. Super helpful. So I just need to keep an eye on that JDC number and I'm good to go, right?
No, not so fast. Remember Bruce Goldsmith?
Yeah, the expert we mentioned earlier.
He reminds us that focusing only on that single JDC measurement can be a bit misleading. Like judging a book by its cover.
Yeah.
There's always more to this story.
Okay, so there's more to this porosity thing than meets the eye. What else should we be thinking about?
Goldsmith is particularly interested in those lower numbers on the JDC scale.
The lower numbers.
Because that's where things get really interesting, safety-wise.
Okay, how so?
He argues that even a small difference in those lower numbers
Can actually mean a big difference in how much air is escaping. It's like that saying, a stitch in time saves 9.
makes sense.
Catching those early signs of wear and tear is crucial.
So early detection is key.
Absolutely. Now, remember those pressure differences we talked about earlier?
Mhm.
How the airflow over the wing creates lift?
Right, right.
Well, Aerofix has some fascinating insights into how porosity plays into all of that. They argue that where the porosity happens on your wing can actually make a big difference.
Okay. So where the damage is on the wing matters.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You're driving down the road, you stick your hand out the window,
Yeah.
you feel that pressure, right?
Really. Especially on the palm of my hand.
Exactly. Now, what about the top of your hand?
Not so much.
It's the same idea with your paraglider wing.
Okay.
That curved top surface.
Yeah.
That means lower air pressure. The bottom surface is flatter, so the air pressure is higher.
Okay.
That difference in pressure is what creates lift.
That makes sense. So where does porosity fit into all of this?
Well, because that pressure difference is biggest on the top surface of the wing, especially near the front, what we call the leading edge.
That's where porosity matters most.
So a tear on the top of the wing is worse than a tear on the bottom.
You got it.
Of course, any damage is worth getting checked out, but those upper surface tears, especially near the leading edge, those are the ones that can really impact your glider's performance.
Got it. So aside from, well, crashing into things,
Right.
what are some of the things that we might be doing to our gliders that could be like speeding up this whole porosity thing?
You're talking about UV radiation, heat, moisture.
Yeah. Even just like how we pack our gliders, right?
Exactly. All of those things can contribute to wear and tear on the fabric.
So tell me more about how those things actually affect my wing. Like what's going on at a microscopic level?
Well, Aerofix really dives into the science of fabric degradation. They explain how those everyday elements can wreak havoc on your glider's fabric.
Okay, I'm listening.
Imagine this. UV rays are beating down on your glider, heat's baking those fibers, moisture is sneaking in.
Yikes.
It all adds up to a slow but steady breakdown of that protective coating and those all-important fibers that make up your wing.
So it's like how our skin ages if we don't wear sunscreen.
That's a great analogy.
And just like with our skin, a little bit of prevention goes a long way. The Zencore manual really stresses the importance of proper care and storage to give your glider a longer, healthier life.
So being mindful of how we pack our gliders, letting them dry properly after a flight, those things actually make a difference.
Absolutely. You're not just delaying the inevitable, you're extending the life of your wing and ultimately contributing to safer flights.
It's like investing in a good skincare routine, but for your glider.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So we've talked about measuring porosity. We've talked about understanding those JDC numbers and how things like UV rays and even how we pack our gliders can affect porosity.
Right.
But let's bring it back to those paragliding inspection recommendations.
Yes.
Those aren't just like friendly suggestions, are they?
They're essential.
They go hand in hand with everything we've been discussing.
Right. Because it's not just about checking the porosity. It's like
Exactly.
we've got to make sure those lines are in good shape. No one wants twisted lines. And
And those tiny tears, those little signs of wear and tear.
yeah.
Those are important too.
And don't even get me started on tear strength.
Exactly. Those inspection recommendations are very clear. A glider that rips easily is a glider that's grounded.
Definitely not the kind of adrenaline rush we're looking for.
Not at all.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today, some really great information. For those who are maybe new to this whole porosity thing, or maybe just feeling a little overwhelmed, what are the key takeaways you want them to remember?
That's a great question. I'd say first and foremost, porosity isn't just some, fancy technical term.
Right.
It's a vital part of your glider's DNA.
Yeah.
It impacts performance and, most importantly, your safety while you're up in the air. So pay attention to it.
It's like tuning into your body's signals, right? You don't just ignore those aches and pains, you get them checked out. Second, measuring porosity is a great first step, but it's not the whole picture.
Right.
It's like checking your heart rate. It's good information to have, but it's not a replacement for seeing a doctor.
Okay.
Don't skip those professional checkups just because, your at-home test gave you the thumbs up.
Right. A thorough inspection by a certified professional. That's like getting a full body checkup for your glider.
Exactly. And finally, never underestimate the power of knowledge.
Yeah.
The world of paragliding, it's constantly evolving, so stay curious, ask questions, and always be open to learning something new.
I love it. Never stop learning the paragliding mantra. So today we learned that paraglider porosity, it's more than just a technical term. It's the key to understanding how well your wing holds air, which of course directly impacts your safety when you're up in the air. We explored how to measure it, the factors that can affect it, and why those regular inspections are so crucial. Until next time, happy flying.